Hello, and welcome to this next episode of The King Lincoln Show. So, I've been telling you the story of my tragic, pathetic, but hopefully somewhat interesting and intriguing life. And where we left off, I told you about how I came home back to my home state after living like in a different place for quite some years. And I told you all the different things I tried going back to school, tried becoming a meditation teacher, and none of that shit really worked. And I was just doing basic jobs like kitchen hand, dishwasher, shit like that. And although I didn't really have like crazy anxiety or anything like that anymore, and I often felt very peaceful and calm and blissful from all the meditation practice I'd done, I started having um, kind of behavioral problems, like just problems with self discipline, problems with self control, um, not eating the right things, not doing the right things, um, just kind of like having trouble controlling myself and regulating myself. And ironically, when I stopped trying to be a meditation teacher, because I realized my practice of it wasn't really advanced enough to like qualify me to teach, my meditation practice got worse because I wasn't, dwelling on the subject all the time and immersing myself in it. And I kind of fell off with that and, stopped focusing on it so much. And yeah, that was a really bad thing. But that's kind of where we got up to in the story. And to start off with for this episode, I wanted to tell you a bit more about some of the problems I was having. Um, and a lot of these related to technology. So when I was living in the yoga ashram and then in the Buddhist monastery, there was pretty much no access to technology, like almost at all. So I didn't have a phone, I didn't have like a smartphone or anything. I didn't have a laptop or a computer or anything. In the monastery, I basically didn't use a computer ever at all. And in the yoga ashram, sometimes I would use one of their computers just to like do some of the written work for the yoga studies course. But that was really it. It was very minimal. And that was really good. But when I came back into normal society, and when I first came back into normal society, I think I just had a flip phone and I didn't really use it very much. But, and I didn't have a computer either for a long time. But uh, when I kind of reintegrated back into normal society and I had, like got a computer and a phone and stuff like that, I started having major, like addiction issues with technology. So just like watching YouTube videos, like doom scrolling, binge watching stuff, just wasting time online and like wasting time on technology. And it got really bad. And like I would stay up like all night, I wouldn't sleep. I would just waste all my time when I was supposed to be being productive, stuff like that. Like it was just really bad and it was totally out of control. So what I tried having a smartphone, I can't remember when it was. It was probably when I was trying to do some online stuff for the meditation teaching thing. Uh I tried having a smartphone, but I just couldn't handle it. Like I just found it so addictive. I kept looking at it. I kept wasting time on it. So I got rid of it and I didn't have one for a really long time. And I got like a laptop because I kind of needed one, like for, some work and like different stuff. But um, I tried all these strategies to try to not be addicted to it and not waste time on it and stuff like that. So Yeah, for a long time, like I didn't have a computer. I would just go to the library to, do stuff that I needed to do. But what I would end up doing would be like I go to one library and you have a certain amount of time like that you can use the computers for. It's like a few hours or something. So I go there and I try to do the useful things that I was supposed to do, but I wouldn't do them. And then I'd waste all this time just watching random videos and stuff. I'd use all the time at that library. And then I'd drive to a different library and use all the time at that library. And it ended up taking up the whole day. So days that I wasn't like working or anything, that I was supposed to be doing something else productive, I would end up just wasting a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And it got really bad. And I didn't have a smartphone, but what I would keep doing would be like um I'd like go and buy like a really cheap phone, like you can get them for like like between 50 and $80. And I would just like kind of like cave into the like pressure of wanting one, pressure of wanting to waste time online, I guess. As dumb as it sounds. I go and I buy one and then I just like waste all day on it. And then I'd be like, oh, I got to get rid of this thing. And I'd like throw it away. I'd smash it or throw it away. And then I'd be like, kind of better for a while. But eventually, like, I'd go buy one again. And I wasted so much money doing that. Like, it was so compulsive. It was like a compulsive kind of addiction type thing. And it was really, really bad. And I couldn't stop myself from doing it. Like, I was trying all these strategies to get myself to do the right thing, and it just wouldn't work. Another thing I did would be like, I'd give my computer to someone and I'd be like, hey, take this and don't give it back to me until this like particular time. But it would never work. I'd always just like find where they put it and go get it. Or I'd just be like, hey, I need it back now. Or something, like it just wouldn't work. I even tried like wrapping it up in like newspaper and putting it up on a shelf, like in like a not in my room, but in like a common area, just so it was more effort to go and get it, to like try to get myself to only get it, go and get it and use it when I really needed it. But again, it wouldn't work. I'd just go and get it, tear off the newspaper and start using it and just use it compulsively again. It was a total compulsion, a total addiction. And I even tried renting like a storage space, like a big like locker thing, that you store stuff in. So I purposefully got one that was like, I think it was like 20 or 30 minutes drive from my house. So I'd have to purposefully, like I'd leave the computer in there, like the laptop in there. So on my work days and stuff, I wouldn't have it. But then when I really needed it, I'd go and I'd get it and I'd like, use it. And then I'd be like, okay, I'll put it back. And then, I won't have it. I won't be able to give in to the compulsion. It'll be fine. But what ended up happening was I just went and got it and then just never put it back. I'd go ages without putting it back. I'd be like, man, I'm supposed to go put this back, but I'm just keeping it. And it was just so bad. I tried all these different strategies, but nothing could crack it for me. Like nothing seemed to make any difference. The shit was just impossible. And later on when I did get a smartphone, like I had a smartphone at some point, I bought this special like box. It's like this box, and when you put the lid on, it has a timer and it locks. So you can put in your you can put in your phone or like other stuff in there, and you can like lock it for a certain amount of time. You set the timer and it won't open until the timer goes off. And so what I did was I also bought a toolbox, and I would lock my laptop in the toolbox, and the toolbox had a key, and then I would put the key in the timer box. I put my phone in the timer box, and then I lock it, and I'd be like, okay, like it's time to go to bed or whatever it was. I'm locking this, and I'd set the timer. I'm like, okay, it won't open until tomorrow. Um, but what happened was I would just smash the box. I must have gone through like 4 of the bases of the box, bought 4 different replacement like bases for the box because I would just smash it, get the stuff out, and start using it again. Like that's how bad the compulsion was. It was so fucking crazy. Like, you can see I'm trying all these strategies, I'm trying all these things, and just kind of raw willpower as well, like raw resistance as well. I would try, but just nothing would happen. Nothing would work. And I tried those blockers like Freedom and Cold Turkey and Focus Ride or whatever they're called that, block certain sites or block your whole computer or block the internet. It just wouldn't work. I would just find some creative way around it and keep just compulsively using the internet. And all I would do on the internet would just be like binge watch YouTube, watch dumb videos and shows, like scroll, watch YouTube shorts, doom scroll, just stupid stuff like that. It was so fucking dumb. And yeah, like I said, I kind of tried to recruit other people to help me, like housemates and stuff like that. To take my computer away from me and stuff like that, but it never really worked. And I remember one time I tried to get my sister to help me. So I was like, hey, can you change the password on my computer and just don't tell me the password until until this certain time or whatever. I was trying to get her to help me like resist it or whatever. And I was like explaining to her like why I had to do that and stuff like that. And she like kind of scrunched up her face and she like gave me this weird look and she's like, "Are you really that addicted to it?" And that was the moment when I realized like everyone, is kind of addicted to their phones and stuff, but I'm actually worse than normal. And this is not a normal thing. Like, this is not just like an average thing that everyone struggles with. Like, what I'm experiencing is like more than the norm, and it's weird. And when I realized that, like, when she gave me that funny look and she said that, I stopped involving other people in it. I stopped trying to get other people to help and stuff because it didn't work anyway, but also it was embarrassing. And I was making myself like look stupid and like feel foolish. So I stopped trying to recruit other people's help and I stopped telling anyone about it or anything like that. But it was really, really bad. It was this compulsive kind of addictive behavior. And I was kind of the same with food as well. Like, thankfully, like I've always been like a healthy weight or like an average weight, apart from when I got really, really skinny when I had an eating disorder. But yeah, I've never gotten fat or anything, like thank God. But um, I had problems with food where I would really try to eat healthy and eat all the right things, but I would always just go and like get a whole bunch of junk, just go and buy junk. Um, I guess I was lucky that like I would stop eating. Like I know some people that just keep eating and eating and like they eat and then like an hour later they eat again. I didn't have something like that, but if I got hungry, uh like it would be really hard for me to just be like, I'll just have this healthy food and that'll be it. I would always try to do that, but I'd end up going and getting some fucking junk. And whatever it was, like chips, chocolate, fucking biscuits, ice creams, whatever it was. And it was really bad. It was a the same kind of like addictive thing, like the technology, like that high dopamine kind of thing, like I just couldn't handle it. And that got really bad too. I tried so many different things to try to combat that, but nothing worked with that either. And I won't go into detail about this. This is something I can't really like tell you everything about right now, but I also became kind of like a bit of a sex fiend. I became kind of a bit of like a sex addict type person, and yeah, I can't tell you all the stories to do with that now because there could be kind of social consequences, but I hope to eventually tell you all those stories as well. So yeah, those issues and kind of like that type of thing, not being able to control myself, not being able to discipline myself, not being able to regulate myself, control my behavior, manage my time, you know, hold it all together. Like that's the kind of stuff I started dealing with. I'd rather that, to be honest, than that crazy anxiety shit and all that really extreme shit that I experienced before that I somehow managed to work through. I'd rather this than that, but it still was a big problem. And like all that stuff kind of starting to happen to me, that's like kind of that whole conglomerate, like kind of made me think like that I couldn't do the meditation teaching thing. It's like if I'm starting to, struggle with all these problems and stuff, how can I teach people about like meditation and being calm and present and stuff? It doesn't really make sense. And like, I obviously have some other stuff to learn or work through or something before I can really teach anyone anything. Well, that was my logic. So anyway, around this time, I was just working as a kitchen hand, a dishwasher guy, and then I kind of got promoted to a chef or a cook, just in a cafe. And when I quit the meditation teaching thing, I decided it was too much for me. I was thinking like, fuck, like, what should I do? Because I failed like trying to go back to school. I failed trying to do this meditation teaching thing. I kept failing shit and fucking shit up and quitting shit. I was like, what should I actually do? And I started to think like these big, more like advanced, difficult projects, maybe they're just too much for me right now. And maybe I should just try to like become more of an average, normal person, like I'll become like a chef. I'll, have a full-time job. I'll have my own place, and then I'll just see where I go from there. Once I lock that down, just being kind of a regular person, I'll see where I want to go from there. Like if I feel like I can do something more than that, or, see how I feel and see what I feel capable of. So, it was a bit of a rushed decision, but, um, I didn't know if I could find like a proper, like, chef job just off the small amount of experience I had. And like where I'm from, there's something called TAFE, which is like one of the main places you do like if you do a cooking course to become a chef or whatever, like that's one of the main places people go. It's called TAFE. So the like the closing for applications for that semester, I think it was, year or semester, was coming up. So I didn't have long to decide. And I was like, fuck, like if I miss this application date, it might mean like 6 more months of just washing dishes and stuff. If I can't find like a chef job or a better job, like based just on the experience I have. So it was a rushed decision, but I decided to study cooking at TAFE. And it was like a 1 year course. And it basically after you do that, you can get lots of like chef type jobs. Yeah. And just to remind you, in Australia, like any cook, pretty much we call them a chef. It doesn't mean you're a head chef or like an executive chef. It just means you're a cook, but we call it a chef. We have different like levels of chef. But yeah, so I decided to do that. And they said it was 1 year full time, but the contact hours weren't that many. I think it was maybe 20 hours a week or something. So I went and started doing that. And it was a terrible decision, like pretty much all my decisions are. I fucking hated it. Um, as soon as I got there, I remember one of the like teachers saying like, if cleaning is not for you, then like cooking is not for you. I was like, okay, I guess cooking's not for me then because I fucking hate cleaning. And just whenever they were like talking about how important like things to do with cooking were, or like getting passionate about cooking or whatever, it just made me like mad and annoyed because I'm like, this isn't important. This whole topic is fucking dumb and I just hate this. And I had thought like, okay, I don't hate cooking. I don't hate working in a kitchen. So this should be all right. This should be an okay idea for something to do like for now. And I'd never really worked in like an office or anything. There were lots of types of work I'd never done. And I was like, I don't know if I can do those things. I don't know if anyone would give me the job. I don't know if I could actually do them. And I don't know if I'd hate them or not. And I was thinking back to when I tried to go back to school, but like I hated using the computer so much. And I kept getting up and like squinting my eyes and being like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. And I thought, yeah, maybe this is like one of the only jobs I can do or some shit. It was very confusing. But yeah, I hated TAFE. I hated studying cooking. And yeah. So to make myself feel better, I kind of started being a dickhead at TAFE. And most people who were there were younger than me. A lot of them were from overseas, like because a lot of uh, people who become chefs in Australia, they do it for a visa because it's a shitty job and we make people like do that. We make people do it so, to give them visas. Um, there's like a list of shit jobs that no citizen wants to do, or hardly any citizens want to do, that we like make immigrants do. Like otherwise we won't give them a visa. It's kind of fucked up, but yeah. So a lot of them were from overseas, and some of them were just like Australian people, or like Australian citizens or whatever. But they're a bit younger than me, and I felt like I was cooler than everyone. I know that probably sounds stupid and like arrogant or something. Um, but there are just certain environments where like people are kind of more timid. They don't really like speak out. They don't like joke around or whatever. It was kind of like that. Everyone's kind of just like docile and timid. And I was like, oh, I can like run this place. So I started just like being a dickhead, and I'd always like just like crack jokes and like banter in class and like say dumb stuff and like contradict what the teacher was saying and just like fuck around and stuff. So I was kind of just like trying to make it fun, and I was trying to kind of like divert myself from the fact that I hated what I was doing and I hated my life. And I really regretted the decision to go there. There weren't really many nice girls at the TAFE, at the course. Um, I did meet one girl who I kind of liked. She wasn't even really like super attractive or anything, but she was like pretty good looking. Um, she was like Asian or half Asian. She was quite pretty. But one of the things I liked about her was she had really, really long hair. It was like down, like past her ass. It was so fucking long and just like dark and black. And yeah, she was, very like thin, like almost frail, but she was quite pretty and she was quite nice. And something that kind of made me kind of like her a little bit was I was just like doing my thing, being like a bit of a dickhead and stuff. And I don't know why, but she must have thought like at some point I was like upset or something, and she was like asking if I was okay. She was like, "You okay?" or whatever, or something like that. And I was like, I think I said something like, "What do you care?" And she was like, "Oh, well, I call it compassion. I'm like having compassion." And that kind of got me. I was like, "Oh, that's actually really nice." And I don't think she was super religious or anything, but I think she was brought up with like Buddhism and stuff, and she kind of liked like kind of Buddhist, like kind of not Buddhism like I did back in the monastery, like meditating all day and stuff, but just kind of more general Buddhistic kind of like principles, like being compassionate and stuff like that. So she was a really nice girl. So I kind of tried to get her to like me, but it didn't really quite work. Um, so the funny thing is, her name was Angel, and she really was like an angel. She was like so nice and kind of pure and stuff. And like when I made like rude jokes, like said that like something looked like a dick or like something looked like a vagina or something, she would be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, keep it wholesome." And I was like, "Wholesome? Oh, you want me to be fucking boring then?" She was like, "Language," like she was like way too nice for me. Like I was becoming more and more of a piece of shit, and I was kind of like, since I realized I had all these problems still, and I couldn't do all the being the calm meditation teacher guy, I started more and more kind of like embracing and leaning into the thing of like I'm just a piece of shit. Like that kind of started becoming my identity. Like I'm just a piece of shit and I can't help it and I can't change it. So I was kind of like leaning into it a bit, I guess. But one time she was making this thing and she squirted like way too much oil on it or sauce on it or something. And I was like, holy fuck, you like squirted a whole river of sauce on that thing. And then from then on, I stopped calling her by her name. I started calling her River. I was just like, oi, River. So yeah, it was stupid, but yeah. So I kind of got her to hang out with me a little bit, like sit like at lunch and just her and me talk and stuff like that. Um, when we were leaving, I don't know if we were leaving for good or during like some kind of break, I got a number and we texted back and forth a bit, but all my texts were really rude and crude, and I kind of tried to get her to like go out with me or something, but she never ended up going, and it was just yeah, it never went anywhere. So I didn't like her like in an emotional way, really. Like I wasn't trying to wife her or anything. I was just trying to fuck her. I think she was about 24. But yeah, I don't even know if she'd had sex before. She seemed very, innocent, or maybe she just hadn't had very much sex, but yeah, that would have been such, like, good pussy because it would have been such hard-earned pussy, like, I was just tuning her for, like, all this time, but it didn't fucking work, and it was just another fucking L. Another fucking L I ended up taking. There was this other girl there, and, I had no real chance of getting her to like me or anything. She already had a boyfriend and everything, when she was there, and she was only 18, like, I think she was, like, freshly turned 18, but oh my god, she was so fucking beautiful, like yeah, one of the candidates for, like, among the prettiest girls I've ever seen in real life. Can't remember her name or anything, but she was just so fucking cute, like, just had a perfect face, like, really cute, really pretty. Long, like, kinda light brown hair, um, just kinda, like, nice figure and everything. But yeah, she was 18, she already had a boyfriend and everything. And she actually used to be a fighter, like, pretty much like a pro fighter, but apparently she got all depressed or something. And then she wasn't sure what she wanted to do, and she, started doing this cooking course, kind of being at a loss for what to do. And I always say, like, if you're a white person and you're studying like cookery or you're working as a chef, it's probably because like it's your last like option and you don't know what the fuck to do, and like you've fucked up your life basically. That's what I always think. There are some white people and Australian people who are passionate about cooking and stuff, but usually if you're white and you're not an immigrant and you're in Australia and you're cooking, it's because you fucked up or you got all fucked up or something. Ex-drug addicts, mental problem people like me, no hopers, ex-cons, like people like that. And then just immigrants, Indian people, Nepalese people, um, Asian people, Brazilian people, people who need a visa. Those are most of them. And while I was at TAFE, like I had only kind of just started it, I got a new job, like a new chef job. And to be honest, I think I probably could have got that job without studying cookery. So that was a big waste of time, but I got that job. It was just in a really kind of shitty, like cafe slash pub kind of place, near the beach. But yeah, I got that job, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a sec. But yeah, one of the teachers of the cooking course thought I was really good and try to organize with some fancy like restaurant people to get me an apprenticeship, but I didn't show any interest because I already had a job. I didn't want to do anything fancy. I didn't really give a fuck about cooking. I was realizing more and more, and I pretty much had what I wanted, just a way to make money, that I wasn't gonna get fired from. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I've got a job. Like I'm kind of not really that interested or whatever. And he got really mad. Like he took it as a slight. He was a fucking psycho, this guy. He was always like shouting or like talking to himself and stuff, this teacher guy. And he took it as some kind of slight and he got really fucking mad. And I was like, oh, holy shit. But yeah, it ended up blowing over, so whatever. But yeah, he gave me and the rest of the class a little bit of a hard time for a while because he was mad. He thought I like slighted him or something. It's kind of nice that um he was impressed by me, but I think it's just because I already had some chefing experience, so all the shit wasn't totally new to me. Like a lot of it was quite easy, so I guess I looked like, just a bit better than a total beginner person. So another significant thing that happened to me while I was at TAFE studying cooking was um nowadays I can't believe I never thought about this before. But something that happened was when we started the meat unit, like you have different units or subjects that you do, like desserts, breads, salads, soups, different things. When we started the meat unit or topic, I started learning some of the material was about like animals and how they get farmed and like when they get slaughtered and stuff. And now like I can't really fathom how I never really thought about this because it's something I think everyone should think about. It's like an ethical issue, but it's like I was learning about the different types of beef and stuff. And they were like, oh, this one is called, I forget all the exact information, but it's like, this one is called like a yearling. It's killed at a year old. This one's called this other thing. It's killed between like 1.5 to 2 years old. And this one is called this other thing. It's killed like at 3 years old or whatever it is. And I was like, wait a second. This is talking about cows and it's talking about killing them at like 1 to 3 years old. Like, what the fuck? Like, did they really do that? And then I was like, how long do cows actually live? I'm sure cows live more than a few years. So, like, are they killing them like really young? And like, because I guess, I don't know if you think this is naive, like, if you like know this or you think this or what, but I was naive enough, I was dumb enough to think that when, um, when like farmed animals get killed, it's at the end of their life and they've lived their whole lifetime. And then at the end, they get killed. So they got to live their whole life, but at the end, near the end of their life, they get killed and made into like meat or animal products or whatever. I only learned incidentally from this course that that's not what happens. They get slaughtered at like a fraction of their natural lifespan. So I can't remember the exact like times, but it was talking about the different kinds of beef and how they get slaughtered at like 1 year or 2 years or a few years or whatever it is. And then I was like, well, then what is the natural lifespan of a cow? And I looked it up and it was, I can't remember exactly, but it's something like, oh yeah, naturally they can live from like 16 to 20 years. I was like, what the fuck? So they can live for 20 years and we're killing them at like 1 or 2 or a few years? That's fucked up. That's like a little fraction of their lifespan. And I was thinking like, that's just really, really fucked. And it was like, basically we're killing them as like little babies. So I just happened to come across that information from learning about it in the course, and then I kind of like extrapolated on and like, found out some more stuff. But then I started looking it up for all the different farm animals like pigs, chickens, sheep, whatever else, rabbits, goats, um, you know, ducks, like all the animals that get farmed and domesticated. And a lot of them were like the same level of fucked up or even more fucked up than cows. It's like they get killed at like just months old, like a few months old or something. And their lifespan is like 10, 12, 15, 20 years or whatever it is. And we kill them at like a year old or just like months old or some shit like that. And I was like, what the fuck? So they don't get to live out their lives and then die and become meat. They're like literally like little babies. And we just like cut off their lifespan at like a year or a few months or some shit. I was like, that is so fucking fucked up. And I never knew that before. And I couldn't believe like I had never even really thought about it. So I started doing more research into the animal agriculture like industry or whatever, like slaughterhouses, factory farms, like breeding practices and just like other non-factory farms and stuff. And I started finding out like all this really fucked up shit. Like the whole thing, if you haven't looked into it, it's so fucking fucked up. Like, just trying to think of some examples, but like, firstly, the conditions they are kept in are fucking horrendous. Like, for example, chickens in like factory farms, they're all like packed together with like no room to even move, and they get all agitated, and they start like pecking each other and attacking each other, and they get bred all weird, like they're like fed all these hormones, like all these hormones and shit are pumped into them, and they've been like selectively bred to the point where they're basically like mutants. So we've like bred them to be bigger and bigger and have like bigger and bigger like breasts and like have more and more meat on them. So that when they're growing, like they can't even support their own weight. So they can't even like walk and stuff properly. And they'll just like, some of them will just be like crippled, like fallen over on the floor, like in the factory farm. and they're all just like shitting all over the floor, and all the ammonia from the shit is like burning their feet and their like feathers, and they're getting all these like scabs and infections. They get like respiratory diseases, and they're like, you see them like wheezing and dying on the floor and shit. It's just fucking disgusting. And then when they get slaughtered, like they get hooked up by their feet and just like go on like a conveyor belt, like hanging from their feet. And they're supposed to go in this water, like their head dips into this electrified water that stuns them so they don't feel when they get killed. But it doesn't always work properly. Sometimes they lift their head or they just don't get stunned properly by the water, and they get their throat slit, like their head fucking cut off or their throat slit while they're fully awake. And it's just, you see all these chickens just like one after another, these huge rows of them, like all getting slaughtered. And you see when one lifts its head and it doesn't get stunned properly. Like, it's just fucking horrible. And, I learned about how like all the workers are really rough with them. And if there's one that's like, they can't use it because it's too fucked or something, but it's not dead, they'll just fucking stamp it to death, or they'll like just hold it by its legs and like smash it to death on the floor or wring its neck. And there's all these dead bodies of like chickens that got farmed, but they didn't even make it to getting slaughtered and used. They're just collateral, like they just fucking died on the floor and shit. I don't know what the percentage of it, like the ones that don't even like make it to getting slaughtered is, but it's like quite a lot of them just fucking die in the farms. And there's all these like dead bodies, and all their friends are just like, just standing around with this dead rotting body that's like not being taken away yet. It's just totally fucked. And when the people come and like put him in the crates to take them away, like they're just like throwing them, and their wings get broken and they get all like mangled up. Like, it's so fucked. And that's just chickens. That's just chickens as an example. So that's meat chickens, and like you can go on and on about it. Like the horrors of it, like you can just go on forever about. But one thing as well I didn't know is when they breed like chickens that lay eggs, the chickens that lay eggs are different to the chickens that they use for like meat. So what they've done is when they hatch the like egg laying chickens, they've somehow made it so the females are one color, I think they're yellow or maybe brown, and the males are another color. I can't remember if it's yellow or brown, but basically they keep the female ones because they can lay eggs, and all the male ones, just as soon as they're born, they go on a conveyor belt and just get minced up, totally alive, totally awake. They just get thrown into this like macerator. Like they just go over a conveyor belt as little chicks, little chirping, cute little birds that have just broken out of their shells. They're like chip, chip, chip. And they go over a conveyor belt and into fucking blades that just chop them up, fully alive, fully awake. They just get fucking chopped up and turned into fucking pet food and shit. It's so fucking evil. I could go on and on about it. And like pigs, for example, they live in these like totally awful conditions. Like the moms, when they're like giving birth, they're in these cages, these pens, and it's like too small and cramped for them to even like turn around properly. So they're just laying there, and they got all these sores on them and stuff, and all these infections. And sometimes they accidentally like crush their babies because they can't like see what they're doing, and they can't like stand up and turn around and shit. And if like one of the baby pigs isn't growing fast enough, they just they know they can't use it, so they just grab it, and just in front of all the other pigs, they just grab it and smash its head on the floor to kill it. And then they just throw it in the fucking bin. It's fucking disgusting. And like all this stuff, like to the best of my knowledge, all this stuff that I've described, it's not like, oh, a few fucked up farms do this. It's common standard practice and it's all totally legal. That's the most fucked up thing, is like, it's all just part of the system. It's not a few bad apples like doing this fucked up stuff. The whole system is like that, and it's just totally legal. And this is where we get our fucking meat and eggs and shit from. And like they'll cut the pig's teeth with no anesthetic, and they're just like squealing in pain. Like, imagine having your fucking teeth cut, and they just cut off their tail with no anesthetic. They castrate them, cut off their fucking balls with no anesthetic. It's just fucked. And like, I could keep going on and on about it, all this different stuff that's done to all the different animals. But you get the idea. The whole thing is fucked. It's like a nightmare. It's basically like, like Nazis, like concentration camps for like Jewish people and stuff in World War II. It's like farm animals are basically experiencing like an even worse version of that, like these death torture camps, but it just never ends. It's like it's always World War II, like Nazism for them, but it just never fucking ends. I mean, I guess, for each animal individually, it ends when they die, finally, but for animals as a collective, it just keeps going and going as long as human civilization, quote unquote, keeps going. So by pretty much a chance encounter, I figured this stuff out and like did all this research and stuff. And I was like, okay, so can you actually survive without animal products? Because I don't want to be a part of this. Like, this is fucked up. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, you can't really think of yourself as a good, kind, compassionate person and also just be like being part of this system and just eating and using whatever animal products you want, because this system is fucking evil. It's like fucked up. You're basically paying someone else to like breed these animals into existence and fucking systematically torture and kill them for you on your behalf so you can eat like bacon and have like eggs and milk and steak and shit. But I was kind of brought up thinking that you had to have animal products to survive. So that's what I thought. And that's another fucking like kind of evil thing that people do. They teach you this stuff that like, tells you that you have no choice but be part of this. But I looked it up and I've found out that like, there's no real evidence that you have to have animal products. And like, just being vegan, just surviving pretty much on plants, and like as long as you plan it properly and you have a few supplements and stuff, you can be totally healthy, like even like a lot more healthy than a lot of like meat eating people and like non-vegan people. So, all the theory was there, like there was no real reason I had to eat animal products and stuff. And it's not just eating animal products. It's also like, using them like leather, wool, feathers, like all that shit. It's all the same shit. It's all fucked up. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to try not having any animal products and I'm just going to see what happens. And around the same time, like it's actually quite funny, like around the same time, we would be like making all these like dishes, like meat dishes and stuff in cooking class. And I would like sometimes, because like we had already made it, like I would eat like these meat dishes and stuff. And it would kind of be like, one meat thing on top of another meat thing on top of another meat thing that I would like be eating. And I got these really bad headaches. Like I got all backed up and like I got these really bad headaches from it and shit. And it kind of reminded me of the migraines I used to get as a kid, which you might remember I told you about. So anyway, I just tried being vegan. I just like cut out animal products. I would slip up, I'd have some and then I'd feel really guilty and be like, "Nah, come on, you can do this." But I gave them up, and the only thing that really happened to me was that I started feeling better. Like, without those meat dishes, like those headaches went away and stuff, and I just kind of started feeling kind of better. Like I still didn't eat totally perfectly. I would have like vegan foods that aren't like super healthy and everything. But yeah, nothing happened to me. I thought I would maybe feel weak or tired or falling apart or lethargic or something like that. None of that shit happened to me. If anything, I just felt like kind of better, bit clearer, a bit better digestion. And although I did eat unhealthy vegan foods, just having that restriction kind of makes you think about food a bit more and like have to plan and stuff. And you often do end up just like by default kind of starting to tend towards like a bit healthier options, like just like as a matter of course. So yeah, that's the story of how I became vegan. Um and since then, like I still try to be vegan. I have all the same ideals and stuff, but the really sad thing is, and the thing like I feel really bad, like even admitting this and talking about this, is that like it took me some time to transition to it. And then I transitioned to it and then I was really good with it, just totally vegan for like a whole number of years. And then I started kind of like just struggling with it again. Like, I told you about all these kind of like compulsions I had, like all these kind of addictive type behaviors, um, like chronically, like going online, like wasting time on technology, not eating all the right foods and stuff, like wasting my time, wasting my money, different stuff like that. Just having a real hard time controlling myself. I started having trouble like saying no to like really like tempting like non-vegan foods and stuff. I started having them again like sometimes and I kept trying to not do it and I'd been totally off them for like years and years, but it just got really difficult and like I really struggled to maintain it. And you can't really make an argument of like, oh, that I needed it, like nutritionally or anything like that, because it was always fucking shit that I'd have. Like, it was nothing good for you that you actually need. It wasn't like I would like eat like I felt like shit, then would have a juicy steak and be like, oh, I feel so much better. It was the opposite. I'd be feeling really good and everything, but then I get a real craving and then I have like a bunch of chocolate or something and be like, oh, why did I eat that? I feel like shit. Oh, and it's not vegan. What the fuck's wrong with me? And then I would just like feel really bad and I'd try again, try to be good again, but I just had real problems with like self-discipline and self-control. And nowadays I suspect I might have something like ADHD, maybe some kind of like mild autism thing. Um, but yeah, I don't really trust like the doctors and psychiatrists. I know that they try to get me on some kind of medication, like they wouldn't really help me. They just give me pills and so I haven't really gone the professional like psychologist, psychiatrist route with it. So I haven't actually been diagnosed or anything, but there's definitely some fucked up shit going on with me in regard to that. But yeah, I still am determined. Like, this is like still kind of going on in the present day. But I'm still really determined to like change myself and improve myself, like in so many different ways. And like becoming strictly fully vegan and not deviating from it. That's one of the biggest things I want to change and improve about myself. And I'm determined to do it. And I'm sure I'll get there despite all my struggles. So I'll tell you a bit more about the next job that I had. So like I said, when I went to TAFE, I also started working at a new restaurant, or it was like a cafe slash pub. like near the beach, and it was a real shithole, and everything about it was shit. Like when you go there and you like, you sit in the dining part, or sit outside and look at the beach and stuff. That is really nice, but the kitchen is a fucking shithole, and how the food is made and like the food and everything, it's all shit, and all the staff and people were all totally shit, and it was a fucking shithole. It was a shit place, and I regret ever working there, and I regret staying there for as long as I did. And I even regret, I'm not sure if I regret turning down that apprenticeship because I didn't really want to do an apprenticeship, but I definitely, yeah, regret staying at this shithole place. So, originally, the kitchen was like twice the size that it was like when I was there. But what they did was they made the restaurant way bigger and they made the kitchen half the size, basically so they could fit more people in there and they could make more money. But that made the kitchen fucking tiny, like for the size of the restaurant. I don't know how many seats it was, but it was fucking huge. And we had this tiny kitchen where you had to like squeeze past people, and it was really dangerous. Like there'd be benches where you'd be like chopping and really quickly like chopping heaps of stuff and prepping heaps of stuff, and people would be literally squeezing past behind you, like their back would squeeze like go against your back to squeeze past. Like that's how little room there was to get past. There was no room to store anything. Like the whole place was all fucking dirty and disgusting, and it was just fucking horrible. So when I started working there, like the guy I worked for and the guy who gave me a job, he was a head chef. I guess we'll call him um Mike, Chef Mike. He was quite a character. I actually really liked him, but he was an odd and not 100% nice person. So when I met him, I thought he was like in his 40s, but actually he was only like 2 years older than me. He was just very weathered and banged up looking. And he was kind of hunched over, and he had kind of scraggly brown hair, which was usually like in a kind of rough ponytail. And he had all these gaps, like all his teeth had gaps between them. Like, I don't think he was missing teeth, or if he was missing any, it was only a few, but all his teeth had gaps between them. And he had this kind of like, his eyes were really far apart and they were kind of a little bit goggly. And he kind of reminded me of a shark. His face reminded me kind of like a shark or some kind of scary fish. And he would get angry a lot and like shout at people. And he was an Aussie guy, but he was actually into cooking. And he would, always talk about his like cooking adventures of when he worked at really fancy places, and he was really like proud of his skills and stuff. And he was the head chef, but I was thinking, if you're such a good chef and you're so fancy and you got all these skills, why do you work at this shithole? I'm only working here because like this is the only place I know I can get with like hardly any experience and all that. Um, but yeah, but he was very funny. Like he make a lot of funny like dick jokes and like rude jokes. He was super crude. Um, yeah, and I actually really liked him. He was a real character. He was very negative. He would complain a lot. He would get angry and shout a lot. But he really liked me because I would always like respect him and I'd always listen. Like when he would try to teach me something or tell me something, I'd really listen and try to like apply it and stuff. And I think that's one of the main reasons he really liked me, and he was always super nice to me, and we kind of became mates, sort of. But also in those days, I never really told anyone much about myself. I would never tell anyone how old I was. I would never really like talk much about myself. So I was kind of mysterious. Or really, I just wasn't comfortable talking about myself, and I didn't know how to tell everyone all that stuff about me. All the weird stuff about me, like my nervous breakdown, my past anxiety and eating disorder and mental problems. I didn't know how to tell everyone about that, so I just didn't talk about myself. That was my solution. So yeah, being a chef sucks. And someone warned me not to become a chef. It was that funny redhead chef guy that I told you about previously. He warned me that being a chef is a shit life and that I shouldn't do it, but I didn't listen. But he was right. And this place, I had only worked in like a few other kitchens and usually more like as a kitchen hand than a chef. So I didn't really have much to compare this place to. But I realize now, after working in a bunch of different places, that this place was a total fucking shithole and all the people were lousy people for the most part. So there was, this is going to sound really racist, but there were lots of Indian and Nepalese people working there. And I'm sure there are lots of lovely Indian and Nepalese people, but most of these people were total pieces of shit. They wouldn't do their jobs properly. They were just nasty people, and it was just really bad. So I think I worked there for like 3 years, but I really shouldn't have. It's a bad habit of mine that on one hand, I quit projects too fast and don't persevere with them. But other things like jobs where I don't want to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, I don't want to meet a whole bunch of new people, I stay there too long, even though it's really shit. And I definitely did that in this case. And there were also a bunch of fights that broke out when I was there. So there was this one where there was this big fat guy, this big fat Indian chef, and he was having a go at this little skinny guy who was a kitchen hand, I think. He was like, "Hey, get in there and do the dishes, ma ma ma." When this guy was on his break, and this little skinny chef just don't know why he got so angry at that particular moment, but he just grabbed him and started smashing him in the face, and he broke his nose. His nose was all bloodied, and I think he was being a bully. I think he deserved it. But then he went and cried to the managers, the front of house managers or the restaurant managers, and being like, he beat me. But really, I think he started it and he deserved it because I think he was being a dick and a bully to this little guy. And there was another fight also involving that big fat guy where he and this other kitchen hand, I don't know how it started, but they just started throwing steel wool at each other. You know what steel wool is? It's like this kind of handful of silver stuff that you scrub. You scrub pots and pans and surfaces with. And for some reason, this chef had this wet, really wet, soapy steel wool, and he just flogged it at this kitchen hand and hit him in the face. And the kitchen hand picked it up and threw it back, and then the chef picked it up again, threw it back at him, and there was a whole fight was breaking out. And we had to be like, whoa, guys, calm down, come on. Stop being ridiculous, chill. Yeah. And it was really bad. And there was another really bad kind of fight that broke out where there was this one Indian chef and he had real issues. He had real anger issues, I don't know why, if he thought he was superior or he used to be rich in India and now he's doing this shitty job because he came to Australia, which, coming to Australia is a good thing, but only rich people from India can really come here. So he had real issues, real anger issues, and there was an Aussie kitchen hand, and all he was doing was putting all these boards, these wooden boards, in this particular place. And this Indian chef told him to put them in a different place or something, and I think he didn't hear him or he wasn't sure or something, and he put him in the wrong place again. And this Indian chef just started yelling at him, yelling his fucking head off, going red in the face. And he was saying like, "You don't know how bad I can be." And then the Aussie guy was like, "Oh, well, you don't know how bad I can be." And like, I had to actually come between them. They were ready to fucking start swinging in this fucking tiny, hot little kitchen with like fire and stoves and knives everywhere. They were going to start fucking punching each other's heads in. And I had to actually physically get between them and be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, guys, calm down, calm down." And, yeah, I got the kitchen hand to go outside. I was just like, "Just go outside, leave him alone, leave him alone." And I had to talk this Indian chef down, like, "Yeah, calm down, mate, he's just making a mistake, like, he's not trying to disrespect you, blah, blah, blah." And, I called the head chef. It was a different head chef now, but I called him, and I was like, "What do I do? Like, these guys are going crazy and stuff." And, he just said to fire the, just to fire the kitchen hand right then and there. So I'm pretty sure that's the only time I've ever gotten to fire someone, but I'm just like, "Just go home, mate. Sorry." And he's like, "Oh, should I say sorry to him? Should I shake his hand?" And I was like, "No, no, no, no. He's still angry. Just go, just go." So it's pretty crazy. And, we did joke around and laugh and like, talk shit to each other and stuff, but there were bad vibes there, like some of the time, quite a bit of the time there was like people getting mad, people getting angry. There were like fights breaking out and shit. And something I really didn't like was people would, even if like they weren't really starting a fight with me, they would kind of be like bullies, kind of bullyish language and kind of be like threatening. Like this one guy kept saying like, "Oh, I can beat you up, You want to get in a ring with me? You want to get in the ring with me, huh? You'll see what happens, blah blah blah." And he was kind of joking, but I kind of really didn't like it. And there was two of the other chefs like started going to the gym, and like, they were like, "Oh, we're getting so strong, we're getting so muscly, like, like I could do this to you, I could do that to you." And I started really not liking it. And I got some kind of other stories to do with this, which I'll tell you another time. But I really didn't like the feeling of kind of them trying to bully me and shit and possibly being like vulnerable to that. So I started going to the gym again, which I, used to do like way back in the day. I started going to the gym again, and then I started doing boxing. And yeah, and as I kind of, I wasn't getting super super crazy good with boxing, but I was learning it. And as I was learning it, I was getting more and more confident. And that guy who I told you about, who was like, "Ah, you want to get in the ring with me? I'll fuck you up, blah blah blah." He was being mean to a really small guy. And this is when I've been doing boxing for a little bit. And I was like, "Hey, don't bully him." Like, I was standing up for the little guy. I was like, "Don't talk to him like that." And it's a weird thing to explain, but he looked at me and he saw that I totally wasn't scared and I wasn't apprehensive or backing down or anything. He saw my confidence and he was like, he just went away, stopped bullying him, stopped talking to him. And I think like if I hadn't been doing boxing and I didn't have something to back up that like confidence, it would have showed. I would have tried to stand up for that guy. Like, my voice would have maybe quavered, or I would have, looked away or like backed down a little bit. You would have seen that I wasn't fully confident. But because I knew I'd been doing all this like working out and boxing and shit, and this guy hadn't, I felt fully confident and I was able to stick up for this little guy who he was trying to pick on. And that was a really good feeling. And that kind of meant something to me, being able to do that. So this is a bit of a silly story, but that guy was in the cool room and I walked into the cool room and he kind of like put his hands up, in like a fighting stance. And I was like, "Oh yeah." And I just slapped him. and he like, I was like, waving my hands around like, "Oh, I'm gonna slap you, gonna slap her." And he's like trying to block it. And I slapped him again on the other side. I was like, "Ah, got you, you punk." and, and he was just like laughing, and it was like, oh my god, guys, Lincoln knocked me out. And yeah, it's a kind of silly thing. I was like, nah, come on, man, I'm just joking around. Like, sorry, I slapped you. You shouldn't have put your hands up like that. Um, it was a bit silly. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it started to show that I was, if something happened, I was gonna be able to fucking break one of these guys' noses, and they couldn't talk shit to me. They couldn't really like try to push me around anymore. So that was a good feeling, and that's one of the reasons I think people should learn to fight. So that's a bit more about my crappy adventures, my shitty life, and some of the goings on. Um, we're getting pretty close to the end of this kind of life story segment. We're getting like closer and closer to being up to date to the present day. But there's a little bit more to go. So next time I'll tell you some more stuff that happened at this job and the story of how I quit this job and other jobs I did, other little adventures I have had, and other stuff I did. And we'll eventually get up to today. So you will kind of have an overview of my shitty, pathetic, tragic life up until now. But yeah, so probably be like one or two more episodes of that, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. Don't know if there was really any lessons in this particular one, but yeah. Yeah, thanks heaps for listening. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to you again next time.